The Devourer fleet arrived like a storm of metal and death. 237 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Each vessel was a nightmare of black metal and weapon systems designed by machine intelligence, with only one purpose: to destroy and consume. Veltar watched from the bridge as the massive fleet spread across space. The smallest Devourer ships were the size of Federation cruisers. The largest was bigger than a space station, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. All Federation vessels retreat to safe distance, Admiral Zephos ordered over the communication system. Do not engage. Repeat, do not engage. But Captain Morrison had different plans. Iron Wolf to all human vessels, Morrison's voice was calm and steady. Target the largest ships first. Standard anti-fleet tactics. Remember, these are machines, no mercy, no prisoners. The UES Iron Wolf moved forward to meet the enemy fleet. Alone. One human ship against an armada that had terrorized the galaxy for 60 years. He's going to die, Dr. Kethai whispered. They're all going to die. The first Devourer ship opened. Fire. Energy beams that could melt asteroids lashed out at the Iron Wolf. The human ship twisted and rolled through space, dodging the incoming fire with impossible grace. Return fire from the Iron Wolf struck the Devourer vessel, and something amazing happened. The Devourer ship's shields collapsed. How? Admiral Zephos gasped over the communication link. Their shields have never been penetrated. Morrison's voice came back calm and professional. Human weapons are designed to fight other humans, Admiral. We build them to destroy the toughest targets imaginable. The Iron Wolf pressed its attack. More human weapons fire struck the Devourer ship, and pieces of armor began breaking away. The machine vessel tried to retreat, but Morrison wouldn't let it escape. Target their engine systems, Morrison ordered. Disable and board. Board a Devourer ship? Veltar couldn't believe what he was hearing. Commander Harper's voice came over the communication system. Boarding teams ready, Captain. Marines Carter and Rodriguez are prepped for hostile insertion. The Iron Wolf fired some kind of projectile at the damaged Devourer ship. The projectile punched through the hull and stuck there. Seconds later, small explosions bloomed across the machine vessel's surface. Boarding pods deployed, Harper reported. We're inside their ship. More Devourer vessels moved to attack the Iron Wolf, but then something incredible happened. Space lit up with new arrivals. The human reinforcements had arrived. The UES Thunder Bay was even larger than the Iron Wolf, and it wasn't alone. 5. More human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their weapons already charging for battle. Admiral Rachel Stone appeared on Morrison's communication screen. She was a stern woman with silver hair and eyes like ice. Morrison, status, report. We've engaged the enemy fleet, Admiral. First target is disabled and being boarded. Ready to begin full assault. Understood. All ships, engage at will. Show these machines what human military doctrine looks like. What followed was unlike anything the Federation species had ever witnessed. The human ships moved through the Devourer fleet like sharks among fish. They fought with a coordination and ferocity that defied understanding. Where Devourer weapons hit human shields, the shields held. Where human weapons hit Devourer ships, armor melted and hulls cracked. Their weapons are working, Admiral Zephos said in amazement. How are their weapons working? Major Adams answered from the Iron Wolf's bridge. Admiral, these machines have fought species that run away. They've never faced opponents who fight back with everything they have. A massive Devourer ship, 3 times the size of the Thunder Bay, moved to engage Admiral Stone's flagship. The machine vessel opened fire with enough energy to destroy a small moon. The Thunder Bay didn't retreat. It charged straight at the enemy ship, all weapons firing. The two ships passed each other in space, trading devastating volleys. When the energy cleared, the Devourer ship was breaking apart, its core systems destroyed. The Thunder Bay had scorch marks on its hull but was still fighting. Impossible, Dr. Kethai breathed. No one has ever destroyed a Devourer command ship. Commander Harper's voice crackled over the communication system. Captain Morrison, we've captured the enemy vessel. These machines have amazing technology but terrible security. We're downloading their database now. The battle continued around them. Human ships darted between the larger Devourer vessels, targeting weak points and vital systems. The machines tried to adapt, but they had never faced an enemy that adapted faster. Sergeant Blake led another boarding team onto a second Devourer ship. Sir, these machines are designed to fight opponents who use energy weapons and conventional tactics. They don't know how to handle kinetic weapons and explosive charges. Morrison smiled grimly. Then let's teach them. The Iron Wolf fired a spread of missiles at a cluster of Devourer fighters. The small machine ships tried to shoot down the incoming weapons, but human missiles were designed to penetrate the best defenses Earth's military could create. Explosions lit up space as fighter after fighter was destroyed. Admiral Stone coordinated the fleet-wide assault. All ships, focus fire on the enemy command vessels. Take out their coordination, and the smaller ships will be easier targets. The human fleet worked together like parts of a single weapon. When one ship was damaged, others covered it. When an enemy ship was weakened, multiple human vessels concentrated fire to finish it off. In 30 minutes, the battle was over. 237 Devourer ships had entered the system. 18 human vessels had met them in battle. When the fighting ended, the Devourer fleet was nothing but debris and captured hulks. Not a single human ship had been destroyed. Veltar stared at the wreckage floating in space. They won. They actually won. Admiral Zephos appeared on the screen, his face showing pure amazement. Captain Morrison, how is this possible? The Devourers have never been defeated. Morrison was checking damage reports from his ships. Admiral, you said these machines have been terrorizing the galaxy for 60 years? Yes. And in all that time, nobody ever fought back? We tried, but they were too powerful. Morrison looked directly at the Federation Admiral. Admiral, you tried to run away. You tried to hide. You tried to negotiate. But you never tried to actually destroy them. Because it was impossible. No, Morrison said firmly. It was just difficult. Humans don't run from difficult problems. We solve them. Captain Veltar realized something that changed his entire understanding of the galaxy. These humans weren't monsters. They were protectors. Deadly, efficient, terrifying protectors who had just eliminated a threat that had haunted the Federation for generations. Admiral Stone contacted Morrison. Captain, Earth Command wants to know if the Federation would be interested in a mutual defense treaty. We could provide military protection in exchange for access to their scientific knowledge. Morrison looked at Veltar. What do you think, Captain? Ready to have some real allies? Veltar thought about his peaceful research ship, about Dr. Kethai's advanced science, about all the defenseless Federation worlds that had lived in fear of the Devourers for so long. Yes, he said quietly. I think we'd like that very much. As the human fleet began rescue operations and salvage work, Veltar composed a message to the Federation Council. Distress call resolved. Recommend immediate diplomatic contact with human species. Classification: Death World Protectors. Threat level to Federation 0. Threat level to Federation enemies absolute. The galaxy had just become a much safer place. The Federation patrol ship Gentle Dawn arrived in the system, broadcasting peaceful greetings. Admiral Zephos appeared on the main screen, his tall green form radiating calm authority. Veltar felt a moment of relief seeing a familiar face. Captain, Veltar, we received your distress signal, the Admiral said. Are you in need of assistance? Before Veltar could answer, Morrison stepped into view of the screen. The Admiral's expression changed immediately when he saw the heavily armed human. I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the UES Iron Wolf, Morrison said. We are providing rescue assistance to your vessel. Admiral Zephos studied Morrison with obvious concern. The Admiral's people were known for their ability to read emotions and intentions. What he saw in the human clearly disturbed him. Captain Morrison, I appreciate your aid, but we can handle this situation from here. Perhaps it would be best if your ship withdrew from this area. Morrison's eyes narrowed. Why? Is there some threat in this region we should know about? Threat? The Admiral looked confused. No, there are no threats here. This is a peaceful research zone. Lieutenant Carter spoke up from his position near the weapon controls. Sir, their ship design doesn't match any military configuration in our database. Looks like another science vessel. Dr. Kethi was monitoring her long-range sensors when suddenly every alarm on the bridge began screaming. Her 4 eyes went wide with absolute terror. Captain! She shouted over the noise. Long-range sensors are detecting multiple contacts. Very large ships approaching at high speed. Morrison immediately forgot about the Federation vessel. How many ships? I count 20, 30, 60 ships and climbing. Dr. Kethi's voice was shaking. Captain, the energy signatures, they match devourer patterns. The word devourer hit the bridge like a physical blow. Veltar saw Admiral. Zephos turned pale on the screen. Even the humans noticed the sudden change in atmosphere. What's a devourer? Morrison asked. Admiral Zephos answered in a voice filled with dread. Machine intelligences. They consume organic life and convert it into more machines. They've been the Federation's greatest nightmare for over 60 years. How do you usually fight them? Morrison asked. Fight them? The Admiral looked shocked. Captain Morrison, we don't fight devourers, we run. The fastest ship the Federation has ever built can barely escape them. Their technology is far beyond ours. Morrison turned to his tactical officer. Walsh, how long until they arrive? Scanning. Estimated arrival time is 47 minutes, sir. Admiral Zephos was already issuing orders to his crew. All Federation vessels begin immediate retreat to minimum safe distance. Do not attempt to engage the Devourer fleet. Retreat? Morrison looked genuinely puzzled. How large is their fleet? Dr. Kethi checked her readings again. The count is now over 200 ships, Captain. They range from fighter-sized craft to vessels larger than space stations. 200 ships, Morrison repeated thoughtfully. That's a decent-sized fleet. Admiral Zephos stared at the human in disbelief. Captain Morrison, you need to understand. A single Devourer ship can destroy entire Federation battle groups. We've never successfully destroyed even one of their vessels. Morrison touched his communicator. Iron Wolf, this is Morrison. Contact Earth Command. Tell them we have a large hostile fleet approaching. Request immediate heavy support. Sir, came the reply. Did you say you want to engage this fleet? Affirmative. 200 ships, unknown technology, hostile intentions toward civilian vessels. Veltar couldn't believe what he was hearing. Captain Morrison, you can't fight. The Devourers. They're unstoppable. Morrison looked at him with calm eyes. Captain, nobody is unstoppable. Everything can be killed if you hit it hard enough and in the right place. Colonel Kate Phillips appeared on Morrison's communicator screen. She was on the Iron Wolf's bridge, and behind her, Veltar could see humans working with deadly efficiency. Captain, Earth Command is dispatching the Thunder Bay and her escort group. Admiral Stone estimates 43 minutes to arrival. Good timing, Morrison said. Have Major Adams begin analyzing the sensor data these people have on Devourer tactics. I want to know how they fight. Major Chris Adams appeared next to Phillips on the screen. Sir, initial analysis suggests these Devourers rely on overwhelming firepower and superior numbers. They've never faced coordinated human military doctrine. Admiral Zephos was frantically trying to understand what was happening. Captain Morrison, you're talking about engaging a force that has terrorized the galaxy for decades. Your single ship cannot possibly... Not just my ship. Morrison interrupted. My ship? plus reinforcements, plus whatever intelligence you can provide about enemy tactics. Intelligence? The Admiral looked helpless. Captain, our intelligence is simple. When you see devourers, you run as fast as possible and hope they don't follow. Morrison frowned. That's not intelligence, that's cowardice. Haven't you ever tried to analyze their weaknesses, study their technology, plan countermeasures? Countermeasures against devourers? Veltar gasped. That's impossible. Captain, Sergeant Blake said. Respectfully, impossible is not a word we use very much. We prefer the term challenging. Dr. Kethai was studying her sensors again. The Devourer fleet is maintaining approach vector. Estimated time to contact is now 38 minutes. Morrison nodded. Walsh, begin evasive maneuvers. Get the civilian vessels clear of the combat zone. Combat zone? Admiral Zephos looked terrified. Captain Morrison, you cannot seriously be planning to fight them. Admiral, those machines are heading toward inhabited systems, correct? Yes, but... And if we run, they'll follow and attack defenseless civilians? That's usually what happens, yes? Morrison's expression became cold as steel. Then we don't run. The human captain turned to his crew. Carter, prep the boarding teams. If these things are machines, we might be able to take some of them intact. Boarding teams? Veltar felt faint. You're planning to board Devourer ships? Standard. Anti-ship tactics, Morrison said casually. Destroy their ability to fight, capture their technology, eliminate the threat. Admiral Zephos was shaking his head in disbelief. Captain Morrison, I must insist that you reconsider. The Devourers have never been defeated. Every species that has tried to fight them has been eliminated. Morrison looked at the Admiral with something that might have been pity. Admiral, with respect, maybe that's because none of those species came from a death world. A death world? The Admiral's voice was barely a whisper. Earth, Morrison said simply. A planet where everything is trying to kill you from the moment you're born. Where natural disasters can wipe out entire cities. Where we've been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years, just to stay sharp. Major Adams appeared on the communicator again. Captain, analysis complete. These Devourer machines appear to rely on predictable attack patterns. They've never faced an opponent that fights back effectively. Good, Morrison said. Time to show them what happens when they threaten humans and our allies. Veltar watched in amazement as the humans prepared for a battle that every Federation species considered suicide. They weren't running. They weren't afraid. They were looking forward to the fight. For the first time since this nightmare began, Veltar felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, these terrifying humans might actually be able to do the impossible. Captain Jake Morrison arrived on the Harmony's light 2 hours later with more humans. Veltar watched in growing horror as armed soldiers spread throughout his peaceful research vessel. They moved with deadly precision, checking every corner and corridor like they expected enemies to jump out at any moment. Morrison was a large man with gray hair and scars on his face. His uniform was covered with symbols that meant nothing to the aliens, but the way the other humans treated him made it clear he was very important. When he spoke, everyone listened. Commander Harper filled me in on your situation, Morrison said to Veltar. My engineers are looking at your engine now. We should be able to get you moving again. Thank you, Veltar said, though he felt far from grateful. Your people seem very thorough. Morrison looked around the bridge. Standard security sweep. Can't be too careful in unknown territory. Dr. Kethai was monitoring human communications from her science station. What she heard made her 4 eyes widen with terror. Captain, she whispered urgently, you need to hear this. She played back recorded conversations between the human soldiers. The voices were casual, talking about everyday things, but the words made Veltar's blood turn cold. Remember that fight on Kepler 7? One human was saying. Those bug things just kept coming even after we hit them with plasma rounds. Yeah, but they went down easy once we brought in the heavy artillery. Orbital bombardment always works. Another voice joined in. At least they were better than those crystal beings on Vega Station. Those things could only be stopped with explosive rounds to their core structures. How many enemy ships did we destroy in that engagement? 15? 20? 23. Confirmed kills. Plus, we had to glass their main colony to stop them from regrouping. Veltar felt sick. These humans were talking about destroying entire colonies like it was normal conversation. Dr. Kethai played more recordings. The new plasma rifles work. Great against organic targets, a human soldier was saying. Much better than the old kinetic weapons. I prefer the neutron bombs myself. Clean kills, no messy cleanup afterward. Remember to check your ammunition counts, came another voice. We're in unknown territory. Could run into hostiles at any time. Sergeant Ryan Blake appeared on the bridge just as the recordings ended. He was a young human with blonde hair and bright eyes that seemed to see everything. Like all the others, he was covered in weapons and armor. Captain Morrison, Blake said, we've finished our sweep of the lower decks. No threats detected, but I found something interesting in their database. What kind of something? Morrison asked. Records of other species they've encountered. None of them have any military capability either. It's like this whole region of space is populated by pacifists. Morrison frowned. That doesn't make sense. How do they defend their territory? That's just it, sir. They don't have territory to defend. They all share everything. No borders, no competing nations, no resource conflicts. Veltar watched the humans exchange more of those confused looks. It was clear they couldn't understand how any species could survive without constant warfare. Sir, Blake continued, there's something else. They have records of contact with over 50 different species, and every single one of them is peaceful. No weapons? No military forces? No history of conflict? 50 species with no military? Morrison shook his head. They're sitting ducks. How have they not been conquered by someone? Conquered? Veltar couldn't stay quiet anymore. Why would anyone want to conquer us? We share our knowledge freely with everyone. Morrison looked at him like he was speaking a foreign language. Captain, in our experience, there are always species that want what others have. Territory, resources, technology. If you can't defend it, someone will take it. But that's horrible, Dr. Kethai said. Why would anyone want to hurt others? Because they can, Blake said simply. Because they want what you have and they're stronger than you. The communication system crackled to life. Bridge, this is Chief Engineer Maria Santos down in your engine room. Captain Morrison, you need to see this. What is it, Santos? Morrison replied. Sir, this ship's design is incredible for scientific work, but it wouldn't survive a single missile hit. The hull is too thin, no armor plating, no defensive systems. A basic fighter could destroy this whole vessel with one good shot. Veltar gasped. The way Santos spoke about destroying his ship sounded like she was discussing the weather. How long to fix their engine? Morrison asked. About 6 hours with our equipment. But, sir, I have to ask, why did they build such a fragile ship? It's like they've never heard of combat engineering? They haven't, Morrison said grimly. These people have never been in a fight. Lieutenant Ben Carter entered the bridge carrying a large weapon. He began checking it over, examining each part with practiced ease. The sight of the deadly device made Whisper retreat to the far corner of the bridge. Sir, Carter said to Morrison, should I keep the heavy weapons ready? This region might have hostile species we haven't detected yet. Good thinking. Keep the squad armed and ready. Veltar couldn't take it anymore. Please, we're peaceful beings. We don't want any trouble. Carter looked at him with genuine confusion. Sir, we're not here to cause trouble. We're here to help you. But staying ready for combat is just common sense. Why do you assume there will be combat? Dr. Kethai asked. Because there's always combat, Carter replied. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it always comes. The galaxy is full of species that see weakness and decide to take advantage of it. The communication system activated again. This time, it was the human ship's tactical officer, Danny Walsh. Captain Morrison, long-range sensors are picking up an approaching vessel. Unknown configuration, heading directly for our position. Morrison immediately became alert. Hostile? Unknown, sir. Ship design doesn't match anything in our databases. Could be another rescue vessel. Could be pirates coming to investigate the distress call. Veltar felt relief flood through him. That must be a Federation patrol ship. They probably detected our distress signal, too. But instead of relaxing, the humans became more tense. Morrison barked orders into his communicator. Red alert, all weapons systems online. I want firing solutions on that incoming vessel. Wait, Veltar shouted. They're friendlies. They're here to help. We don't know that, Morrison said coldly. Until we confirm their intentions, they're a potential threat. Blake was checking his rifle again. Sir, if they're hostile, do we engage immediately or try to negotiate first? Depends on their approach vector and weapons status, Morrison replied. If they come in hot, we respond in kind. Veltar watched in growing horror as these humans prepared for battle. They spoke about potentially destroying a Federation vessel, his own people, with the same casual efficiency they'd shown for everything else. Dr. Kethai was frantically working at her station. Captain, the approaching ship is broadcasting Federation identification codes. It's the patrol vessel Gentle Dawn under Admiral Zephos. Tell them to stay back, Morrison ordered. Unknown vessels maintain distance until we can verify their intentions. But they're our own people, Veltar protested. Morrison looked at him with hard eyes. Captain, you people have survived this long by luck. Pure luck. But luck runs out. Until we know for certain that ship is friendly, we treat it as a potential enemy. Veltar realized with absolute terror that these humans were preparing to attack a Federation vessel simply because it was approaching them. These weren't rescuers. They were killers who saw enemies everywhere they looked, and now they were preparing to show the peaceful Federation exactly what kind of beings came from death worlds. 18 hours later, the UES Iron Wolf dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a violent flash of energy that made the Harmony's light shake. Captain Veltar watched through the main view screen as the human ship came into view, and his worst fears were confirmed. The Iron Wolf looked like a weapon that someone had decided to put an engine on. Its hull was dark gray metal covered in angular armor plates. Dozens of gun turrets dotted its surface, and strange weapon systems that Veltar couldn't identify stuck out from every section. Scorch marks and dents covered the hull, telling stories of battles the peaceful aliens couldn't imagine. My ancestors protect us, whispered Dr. Kethai. That ship has seen combat. Real combat. The human vessel was 3 times larger than their research ship and looked like it could destroy a small moon. Where Federation ships were built with smooth curves and elegant designs, this thing was all sharp edges and brutal efficiency. Incoming. Transmission, announced Whisper from the communications station. The same rough voice from before filled the bridge. Harmony's light. This is Captain Jake Morrison. We're going to dock with your ship and send over a boarding party. Keep your crew away from the docking port. We're coming in heavy and we don't want any accidents. Coming in heavy? Veltar repeated. What does that mean? They didn't have to wait long to find out. Through the view screen, they watched as a section of the Iron Wolf opened up. A smaller ship launched out, heading straight for them. This smaller craft was also covered in weapons and looked like it was designed to punch through enemy armor. Captain, Mox recalled from engineering, they're not using a standard docking procedure. They're actually cutting through our hull. What? Veltar jumped up from his command chair. Are they attacking us? No, sir. They're being very careful not to damage our life support systems. But they're making their own entrance instead of using our docking port. The sound of cutting tools echoed through the ship. It lasted for 10 minutes, during which the alien crew huddled on their bridge in terror. Finally, the cutting stopped. Heavy footsteps rang through the corridors. Not the soft padding of Federation species, but the hard stomping of beings who wore thick boots and carried heavy equipment. The bridge doors slid open, and Veltar got his first look at humans. They were terrifying. The first one through the door was a female with short brown hair and cold blue eyes. She wore dark body armor that covered her from neck to feet, and weapons hung from every part of her body. A large rifle was strapped to her back, smaller guns hung from her hips, and her belt was covered with devices that Veltar assumed were different types of weapons. "I'm Commander Lisa Harper," she said, scanning the bridge with professional efficiency. "Are you the ship's captain?" Two more humans followed her in. They were both males, just as heavily armed and armored. One was tall and thin with dark skin, the other shorter and stockier with red hair. They immediately spread out and took positions that gave them clear views of all the exits. Yes, I'm Captain Veltar," he managed to say. "Good. I'm here to assess your situation and coordinate your rescue." Commander Harper looked around the bridge with eyes that seemed to catalog every detail. "This is Sergeant Alex Turner and Corporal Sam Rodriguez. We're going to need a full briefing on your ship's condition." "Of course," Veltar said. "We're peaceful researchers. Our engine failed and—" "Hold that thought," Harper said, touching a device on her ear. "Morrison, Harper here. Initial contact established. No immediate threats detected, but I want a full sweep before we bring over the technical teams." "Threats?" Dr. Kethai asked nervously. "What threats?" Harper looked at her with surprise. "Standard procedure. We don't know what caused your engine failure. Could be equipment malfunction, could be enemy action, could be a trap." "A trap?" Veltar felt his hearts racing. "We're scientists. We don't have enemies." The three humans exchanged glances. Sergeant Turner spoke for the first time. "Sir, with respect, everyone has enemies. The question is whether you know about them or not." Corporal Rodriguez was studying a handheld device. "Ma'am, I'm not reading any weapon signatures on this ship. No military-grade systems at all." "None?" Harper asked. "No defensive systems? No emergency weapons?" "Why would we need weapons?" Veltar asked. "The Federation has been at peace for over 200 years. Again, the humans looked at each other. Harper spoke into her communicator again. "Captain Morrison, you need to hear this. These people have no weapons at all. I mean, zero defensive capability." Morrison's voice came back through her device, loud enough for the aliens to hear. "None? How do they handle pirates? Hostile boarding actions?" "Pirates?" Whisper squeaked. "There are no pirates in Federation space!" Harper stared at the floating alien. "No pirates? No raiders? No hostile species trying to steal your resources or technology?" "No," Veltar said. "All Federation species are peaceful. We solve disputes through discussion and negotiation." The silence that followed was uncomfortable. Turner was shaking his head slowly. Rodriguez looked like he was trying to understand a completely foreign concept. "Ma'am," Turner said quietly, "how have these people survived? I mean, how does a species with no weapons make it to space travel?" "We've never needed weapons," Dr. Kethai said. "Our homeworlds are safe places. The most dangerous thing on Serenity, Prime is falling off a cliff." "What about predators?" Rodriguez asked. "Dangerous animals?" "We don't have any," Veltar replied. "Most of our wildlife eats plants." The humans looked genuinely confused. Harper spoke into her communicator again. "Captain, we've got a situation here. These people come from worlds with no natural predators, no hostile species, and no weapons. Technology. They've never been in combat." Morrison's voice crackled back. "Are you telling me they're completely defenseless?" "Completely, sir. Their ship has better scientific equipment than anything I've ever seen, but a child with a slingshot could take it over." Veltar didn't like the direction this conversation was taking. "Commander Harper, we called for rescue assistance. Are you here to help us or not?" Harper looked at him with what might have been pity. Of course we're here to help. It's just, we've never encountered peaceful species before. Every species we've met has been either trying to kill us or preparing to fight someone else. That's horrible, Dr. Kethai said. What kind of galaxy do you live in? The real one, Turner said simply. Rodriguez was walking around the bridge, examining their equipment. Ma'am, this is incredible. Their computer systems are completely open. No security protocols, no firewalls, no encryption. Anyone could hack into this ship in about 5 minutes. Why would anyone want to hack our computers? Veltar asked. To steal your data, learn your weaknesses, find your home systems, Harper explained. Standard intelligence gathering before an attack. But who would attack us? Veltar was getting more confused by the minute. Harper looked at him for a long moment. Captain, I think you people have been very, very lucky. You've been living in a protected bubble, and you don't even know it. She touched her communicator again. Morrison, we need to talk. These people have no idea how dangerous the galaxy really is. Captain Veltar's 6 arms moved across the control panel with smooth grace. His pale blue skin shimmered under the soft lights of the bridge. The research ship Harmony's light drifted peacefully through space, far from any known star system. For 3 months, they had been studying ancient cosmic radiation patterns in this empty region of space. Captain, we're detecting some unusual energy readings, said Dr. Kethai from her science station. The tall, thin alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as she studied her displays. Her people from Wisdom's Edge were known throughout the galaxy for their advanced scientific minds. Anything dangerous? Veltar asked. His species had evolved on a world where the biggest threat was running out of food during the long winter seasons. Violence was almost unknown on Serenity Prime. No, sir. Just interesting cosmic phenomena. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases. Veltar nodded and returned to his daily reports. The Galactic Federation had sent them here to study the void between star systems. It was quiet work, perfect for peaceful species like themselves. No conflicts, no territorial disputes, just pure science. The ship's engineer, Moxra, worked quietly in the lower decks. His rock-like appearance and slow movements made him ideal for patient, careful work. His people had never developed weapons because nothing on their homeworld could hurt their stone-hard skin. Everything changed at 14:30 ship time. A massive shudder ran through the Harmony's light. The lights flickered, and several control panels sparked. Veltar's arms flew to his command console as alarms began ringing throughout the ship. What happened? He called out. Dr. Kethai's eyes were wide with panic. Multiple system failures. Our main engine just shut down completely. Engineering to bridge. Moxra's deep voice came through the communication system. Captain, we have a serious problem. The engine core is cracked. I've never seen damage like this. Veltar felt his heart sink. Without their main engine, they were stranded in empty space. The backup systems could keep them alive for maybe 2 weeks, but they were light years from the nearest Federation outpost. Can you repair it? Veltar asked. There was a long pause. No, sir. This kind of damage requires a full shipyard. The engine core has a fracture that goes through 3 levels. We're dead in space. The bridge fell silent, except for the steady beeping of warning alerts. Veltar looked at his crew. All of them came from peaceful worlds where the biggest problems were crop failures or minor earthquakes. None of them had ever faced a life-or-death situation like this. We need to send a distress call, Dr. Kethai said quietly. To who? Asked. The navigation officer, a floating gas being named Whisper. The nearest Federation ship is 6 months away, even if they started traveling right now. Veltar stared at the star charts on his main screen. They showed nothing but empty space. For incredible distances, the Federation had sent them here precisely because it was so isolated and safe. Captain, Dr. Kethai said, I'm picking up something on long-range sensors. Very faint, but there might be an inhabited system about 3 light-years from here. Federation. Veltar asked hopefully. No, sir. The energy signatures don't match any known Federation technology. It appears to be an unknown species. Veltar's mind raced. First contact with a new species was always handled by specially trained diplomatic teams, not research scientists. But they were going to die if they didn't get help soon. What choice do we have? He said finally. Prepare a standard Federation distress signal, include our peaceful intentions, and request immediate assistance. Dr. Kathai worked at her station for several minutes. Signal ready, Captain. Broadcasting on all known frequencies. Send it. The message shot out into space at faster-than-light speeds. It contained their location, their situation, and a translation matrix that would allow the receivers to understand their language. Most importantly, it stressed that they were peaceful scientists in need of rescue. For 6 hours, nothing happened. The crew worked desperately to extend their life support systems. Moxra managed to reroute some power from non-essential systems, buying them perhaps 1 extra week. Then Dr. Kethai straightened suddenly at her station. Captain, we're receiving a response. Put it on speakers, Veltar ordered. A strange voice filled the bridge. It spoke in a language none of them recognized, but their computers quickly worked out a translation. The voice was deep and rough, unlike the smooth tones they were used to from Federation species. Unknown vessel, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the UES Iron Wolf. We received your distress call. We are en route to your position. Estimated arrival time is 18 hours. Prepare for tactical insertion and hostile environment protocols. Maintain current position and await further instructions. The bridge fell silent. Veltar felt a chill run through his body. Tactical insertion? Whisper whispered. What does that mean? Dr. Kathai was working frantically at her station. Captain, I'm picking up more communications from their ship. They're not broadcasting to us, but our sensors are detecting their internal communications. What are they saying? Veltar asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. They're discussing something called combat readiness levels and hostile contact procedures. Captain, they keep using words like weapons hot and enemy assessment. Veltar's 6 arms trembled. Are they treating us as enemies? It gets worse, Dr. Kathai continued. They're also talking about their ship's weapon systems. Captain, the energy readings I'm detecting from their vessel are enormous. Their ship appears to be designed specifically for warfare. A military vessel? Moxra's voice came from engineering. Captain, what kind of species builds ships purely for fighting? Veltar had no answer. In all of Federation history, military vessels were used only for defending against natural disasters or the rare criminal organization. The idea of a species that built ships specifically to destroy other ships was horrifying. There's something else, Dr. Kathai said quietly. They keep referring to our location as being in potentially hostile territory. And they mentioned something about Deathworld protocols. Deathworld? Veltar asked. I looked it up in our databases. It's a theoretical classification for planets. So dangerous that only the most aggressive species could survive on them. The Federation has never actually encountered one. The implications hit Veltar like a physical blow. They had called for help from a species that came from a world so violent it had created beings who thought in terms of warfare and weapons as naturally as breathing. Captain, Whisper said in a voice barely above a whisper, what have we done? Veltar stared at the main screen, watching the distant stars. Somewhere out there, a ship full of creatures from a death world was heading toward them at incredible speed. Creatures who spoke casually of weapons and combat and hostile insertions. They had sent out a distress call asking for rescue. Instead, they might have just summoned their own destroyers.